Other rogue decks might be sussy, but this one will help you find the imposter. Hello, it's Webz here again with another Hearthstone deck, this time Questline Rogue. This deck centers around the new SI archetype that was introduced to support the Rogue questline, while relying on stealth minions to help out with consistency's sake and to generate sticky boards in order to use Battleground Battlemaster to burst for over 20 damage in one turn. For mulligans, you usually want to try to get some of the SI cards in your opening hand so you can trigger off your quest quickly. However, it is also good to try to curve out your hand so you always have life for the next turn. Because of how the costs in this deck work on average, you usually have a pretty good curve overall, which allows you to complete your quest pretty quickly, which allows you to generate the gizmos in order to generate card advantage on your opponent. So now with that being said, let's get into the games. Alright, let's get into game 1 against Shaman. Since the nerfs went out, Quest Shaman seems to be gaining a lot of popularity, so we're just going to mulligan our entire hand away. This was an example of a really bad starting hand, and even this is not that good for us. And oh look, it is Quest Shaman. So we're just going to mirror them and play our quest and then think about what we're going to do next turn. Because next turn we could play the SI agent with the coin to complete our quest a little bit, or we could just play our stealth minion instead. They're going to play a bunch of overload cards turn 1. Complete their first part of this quest. So here we actually do need some board advantage. So we're just going to use the agent in order to do 2 damage. The logic here is if I do 2 damage to the 3/4, then they will have to kill their own minion in order to kill our SI agent. Now we can just attack into their 2/3 and then bounce the SI agent back and then kill the 3/2, saving the 1 cost for later. And here on turn 3 we'll be able to complete the first part of our quest. Generating a Spiomatic, which is honestly the gadget that I am the worst with using because I always think it does something completely different than it actually does. We're going to clear out our board. I can't remember if this was one of the games where I misplayed using the Spiomatic. I don't think it was, but it could be. Yeah, no, this one I actually remembered what it did. Just going to clear out the spell power minion and draw 2. Archdruid is nice for next turn since we have a chance at our board clear. I wish Rogue had a better way to have a board clear. It's been a long time since Rogue has had any type of consistent board clear. It's going to play the Archdruid and Hero Power. And here we get Nightmare, which is actually really good for this style of deck, since we can combo it off with a Stealth Minion and the Battleground Battlemaster in our hand. They play 2 Spell Power Minions, which is something that we'll want to deal with pretty damn quick. Here we can play the Stealth Minion and then destroy their bigger spell damage minion. And I also probably should have used our attack with our weapon, but I honestly forgot about it. And here we complete the second part of our quest, which gives us the stealth one that gives +2 attack, and we get Emerald Drake, which is really nice because of the other cards in our hand. We can give our Emerald Drake stealth and they'll have no way to deal with it. We just gotta survive 2 extra turns. Here we're going to play the Emerald Drake. No reason not to. Unless they're running devolving missiles, which most gentlemen aren't. I don't think any deck is actually running devolving missiles right now. Got a nice big board. We should have honestly probably stealthed the Emerald Drake here, but it is what it is. Here we buff up our Drake to be really big. So he can do 26 damage. And we win. Would have expected Rogue to be able to do this in 1 turn with a minion right now. Because he sure didn't. Alright, after that momentum game 1, let's get into game 2 against Hunter. Here we're just going to mulligan everything but our questline away, since it doesn't help our questline at all, and it doesn't give us any early game. And we draw into a much better hand for this questline. So turn 1 we can just play our questline. Then turn 2 we can use our Stalker to play a Initiate. We can either kill the Initiate this turn or play our Stalker. We're just going to play the Stalker because it gives us board advantage. We can still kill the Initiate next turn if we really need to. And it will give us mana to play the reward from our quest. They're going to trigger their Initiate. Here we can kill the minion and play our 2-cost SI agent. Or we can play our Biomatic instead. We're going to give them the 5-cost card, so it's a dead draw for a few turns. They kill our Biomatic and our other minion. Here we can play our Informant, or we could have done some shenanigans with our SI agent and Shadow Step, but this also gives us a board presence while not dealing with that. Because we should be able to draw into a different card in order to trigger the combo on the SI agents. It's kind of a shame that Mathis Shaw wasn't made into a card, given the fact that he's the leader of the SI. But probably will be made into a card during the mini set. While we drew into the Battlemaster, it's not really good at this point. So we can just do some shenanigans with the SI agents to try to complete our quest. And now we'll only have to play one more SI card to complete the quest. They'll draw 3 off of Cobain. Here we're starting to get into a little bit of a sticky situation. Just because they have way more card advantage. I probably should have given them that 5 cost, and I did. But we're just going to do 12 damage to face. no matter what they do here, they need to kill off our Battle Master. If they don't, they just lose. Which they proceed to do. They're going to board clear us. Here we can complete our quest. And play a stealth minion. Because they have no way to deal with it. And I'm pretty sure during this game, I was actually still running 2 copies of Battle Master. Or I cut it down to 1 since I did not want to draw into the card too much. Even though it would help you win the game quickly, it was a dead draw like half of the time that you drew into 2 copies early game. They're going to play a Cult Neophyte. And then a bunch of other minions. Here we're going to play Scabs. Get all of the Phasmos in a hand. Get the 3-2 weapon. Put stealth on Gizmo. They're going to play their Rhino and kill one of our 1 HP minions. They're going to proceed to board clear. Here we gain Cloak of Shadows, so we can stall out for a turn, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be a freezing trap in the end. By using Cloak of Shadows to stall out, we can pass the turn back to them, and then not worry about having to deal damage through a minion. So we can bounce back Scabs with Shadow Step. In order to make sure we don't discard the weapon from Scabs. But that should be fine because we have only 1 and 2 cost cards in our hands. So here we'll play the Spiomatic, doesn't matter what we put on the top since we're planning to win here. We'll bounce back the Rhino. We'll play Scabs. And then we'll get our weapon and attack for face. See, I had no proof that this was going to be freeze trap, but I assumed it was going to be because what other secret would it be on that type of board? Alright, now that we're through the games, let's get into the discussion of how well the deck did overall. This deck was a pleasant surprise in how consistent it was actually. It's something that not a lot of people will think you are playing because the most popular rogue deck right now is Groot Rogue, so they're expecting more of a miracle package in order to win. But instead you surprise them with a bunch of stealth minions, which allowed you to curve out a bunch of damage pretty quickly. The deck had a 72% win rate across 18 games. It only lost 5 games, and it wasn't actually the easiest thing to tell what the deck's biggest weaknesses were. But across the games that the deck lost, there were only 2 games out of the 5 that actually felt like there was no winning position for the deck, which made it evidently clear of what the weaknesses for the deck would be. The counter for this deck is basically the same as most rogue decks that don't rely on doing face damage through spells, which is a bunch of big minions. However, while the deck is weak against big minions, The type of big minion that really hurts the deck are taunt minions, because you have no clear way to use your stealth minions that you buffed up in order to hit their face. Which means something like Clown Druid is very devastating against this deck, especially if they get access to their clowns pretty early and then have an entire board of 8/8s. But that's honestly a board that most decks have a issue with dealing with. Besides Archdruid, there were a few other cards that I ran in this deck that weren't the most conventional for this style of deck. I used Cloak of Shadows to try to stall out the game for a turn against Questline Mage in particular and other decks that do a bunch of face damage pretty quick in one turn, because I could turn the game around as long as I had a few stealth minions on board. So then I could play Battleground Battlemaster and do a minimum of 12 damage with most of the stealth minions that are in the deck. And the deck definitely has a surprise factor going for it, where most people aren't going to expect this style of deck right now out of Rogue, and because of which it ends up cheating off a lot of games against opponents that will just pass the turn because they think they're fine at like 20 HP, but then you just swing one big stealth minion into their face for 20-ish damage. I would definitely say this is a safe deck to craft. There aren't many high rarity cards in the deck besides the questline itself, and out of the legendaries that were included, Archdruid is probably more important than the other scabs. Scabs was just included because I wanted to be able to have some mana discount in the deck and curve out the game a little bit better. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you have any feedback. Until next time, bye bye.